The 2025 election just finished, so I will be now going through the race and see if my prediction have actually accurately guessed for all these races. So first, we'll currently be going to the New Jersey race, where Mickey Sherrill have outperformed. According to the polls, Mickey Sherrill is obviously a congresswoman, while Jack Ciattarelli is a former Republican nominee. So this race is actually incredibly close, and mainly why is it so close is because of some polling sources such as Emerson College, which have predicted this race to be incredibly tight. Example for this, well, 1,000 likely voters, it says that it's going to be between 2 points. But as you can see that as by the research code as well, it's going to be between 3 points as well into the margin of error. But when we actually see the actual results, which have came out, it is a very sided election where Mickey Sherrill obviously have outperformed her opponent, and you can see that in every county there have been a shift, and it really shows that New Jersey is not a swing district, as some people like the Silver Bulletin might show it to be. And you can see that in fact Mickey Sherrill had initially a really big lead, and they really quite stringed as more polls come out, and the final polling shows that she might be around 5 points ahead. So obviously she well outperformed that, where she in fact gotten a really good number of 13 points ahead, which is really surprising considering that Jack won, or he didn't won, but Jack came close in 3 points for the last governor's race. According to Kelshi, currently Mickey Sherrill is obviously the winner of this, but you can see that she always had an advantage of around 90% of confidence level for this whole election. So uh, this race is actually one of the most surprising ones, since we actually expected this to go on for quite some time, but this race was called quite fast. So with that, for me, I actually called this race correctly, and I predicted that Mickey Sherrill was going to hold this race. Next, we'll be going to the Virginia governor's race. So this race is a race that is quite one-sided, where Abigail Spanberger, a former congresswoman, will be facing the former lieutenant governor, which is going to be Winston Earl. And if when we see the polling, uh, actually the Democrats have led this always by quite a lot. So you can see this is by 10 points, and this is a Republican sponsored poll. And you can see that Research Co said that she will also be leading more than 5 points. So this is not a race that is very close. So you can see that Spanberger won this by 15 points, which is something that we expected. It's a bit of outperforming for this poll. Obviously, Cheryl here is still a surprising one, since we only expected this to be maximum of 5 points lead. But Spanberger anyway still overperformed and did really well. And it just really shows that Democrats have performed overly well for the election night. So you see Spanberger here, she overperformed by a lot, and and she really spiked up. And I think this drop over here is when Jay Jones, whose scandal came out, which I'm going to talk about later. But you can see that she's performing by 10 points, 8 points, 8.6 points, 6.5 points. So you can see that actually the Democrats really had this in the bag, and this is quite an obvious race where she won by quite a bit. So this is a safe Democratic state, and the Democrats really turned out for this election, and it is a result which the Democrats definitely did really well. Next is a controversial result, which is going to be the Jay Jones situation. So if you guys didn't know, Jay Jones is the Democratic challenger to incumbent Jason Myers, and Jay Jones, of course, had the scandal where he actually wished for the former Speaker of the Legislation of Virginia to be um to be dead, and that is something that obviously people do not like. And you can see that actually Jason Mayers really led by quite some time. So after the scandal of the text messages leaked, Jason Myers led the polls, and this is State Advocate is a poll that I said at the time that it is something that is outlier, and you can see that uh, Jason Myers really led the polls, except for when we were coming into the race, and this is something that I personally didn't really reflect, because in my own prediction I said that the GOP is going to hold this race because of the split ticket effect, but obviously Jay Jones came out in the end, and it's really surprising of the margin that he came out. Many people who predict this race, including Let's Talk Elections, which is what I consider a slightly more liberal leaning or democratic leaning commentation channel, since they cover more towards the Democrats, especially in the 2024 election, where they give Kamala Harris most of the swing states. But when we look at this, it really, really shows how much the Democrats really outperformed this time. Jay Jones won by 6 points, and it's a race that is really called quite fast, because many people actually expected this to be called really slowly. But when we see the calling of the results over here, you can see that Jay Jones was called not too long after the votes actually poured in. Is just right after uh right after Abigail Spanberger was called, and around 26 minutes later, or half an hour, Jay Jones was called. So this is a really fast race to be called, and it's not the close race that we obviously expected. And you can see that Jay Jones really outperformed himself and the Democrats this time around. On Kalshi betting market, it's also something that I did consider while making the prediction. So you can see that one of the main reasons why I predicted that Jay Jones was going to lose this election is due to mainly because of the Kalshi prediction market, which have predicted that Jay Jones over here is going to lose by quite a bit after the scandals leaked around here, and Jason Myers actually spiked up here. So this is something that obviously it's really good for the Democrats, and you can see that at the average, Myers is also leading here, and Jay Jones, you can see here that Jay Jones did come out a bit at the end, but the comeback here is really something that we didn't quite expected. Next we have the New York City mayor election. This is a race that obviously Zohran Mamdani is an assemblyman who shocked everybody back in June when he win the Democratic nomination for the for mayor. Andrew Cuomo is obviously a former governor, and a lot of people are asking Sliwa to drop out because it's a spoiler effect. But when we look at the polls, Sliwa is said to get 18%, but obviously he did not. He got a 7.1%, and this is something that obviously, obviously some people are still mad at Sliwa for not overperforming a bit more or dropping out, but obviously it's still something that people are still mad at for Sliwa not dropping out. But even if you see that, let's say Sliwa, all the votes is converted to Cuomo, he would still have lost the race. But again, Mamdani over here won by a very slight margin of 50.4%, which is quite weak for a Democrat, because back in 2021, for example, Eric Adams won it by 66.99. Back in 2017, Bill won it by 66%. So it really shows that although Mamdani currently is having the majority, his majority here is really quite weak, and his performance over the next few years will be determining if this is the new democratic way of how we're going to do things, or it's going to be just a cautious tale. According to the polls, as you can see that the lead 11 to Mamdani, 5 to Mamdani, and yeah, and he have led in the polls all the way to the end, and really it is not Cuomo or Mamdani who did overly well. It's really Sliwa who really fell off, not even close to 80%, and 4.5 for Mamdani, 6.6 Mamdani, and this is something that everybody must keep in mind for this election, is that for almost every race, polling have been quite incorrect this year. For Virginia's Attorney General, it underestimated the Democrats. In the Virginia governor's race, underestimated the Democrats. In the New Jersey governor's race, also it also have underestimated the Democrats, save for the New York mayor race. So this is something that everybody must keep in mind, is that current polling situation is that we are not very sure if it's going to lean Republican or Democrats anymore, mostly due to the fact that, you know, in 2016 it went to Trump, in 2020 it favored Trump, and 2024 Trump as well. So it shows that we are actually underestimating Trump. But now that we gotten this, it shows a different data, is that it says that we are underestimating Democrats. So obviously, the current model is something that we must look again at the methodology of how we do the polling. Last but not least is the California Prop 50. This is obviously a race that will define the 2026 midfield. Lastly, we'll be looking at the California Prop 50. This is obviously a race that would be defining the mid-year election in 2026. And it's definitely a race that we must all be keeping our eyes on, mostly due to the fact that this will be helping us gain 5 seats for the Democratic Party. But at the same time, if you're looking at the current situation, it seems that the Republicans are getting much more seats, which is something that the Democrats should be quite worried about. Looking at polling data, because California is so blue, it have always quite led for the polling. So this is not a surprise number. So you can see that in the final poll, it says that 60% support, and which is around the current support for the Prop 50. But overall, you can see that that this year is definitely a overperformance for the Democrats. The Republicans' underperformance could be due to several reasons, which I'm going to quickly cover. I've wrote this article which is talking about why the Republicans didn't really perform as well. But in summary, so there are currently no clear reasons why the Republicans didn't do so well. Obviously, Donald Trump posted the fact that it's mainly due to the fact that he is not on the ballot, which I countered by saying that according to the NBC polling data, it actually quite showed that Donald Trump didn't really quite influence these races, And I also talked about how the Democrats' current messaging works, and it's mainly due to the fact of talking about on the table issues, and the fact that they are constantly blaming Trump. If you've seen Mamdani being a socialist, or even centrist Abigail Spanberger, they all have a constant message of blaming Trump and talking a lot about Trump's impact. Talking also about what messaging that they must have. There's currently no clear direction. You can see from this political commentator, who is obviously a conservative, but he have talked about how the fact that people need to be more MAGA embracing, and they need to be, talking more about fully being MAGA and not being a half-hearted one, which in my opinion, Winston Earl Seals is a MAGA herself, because she have talked a lot about this policy, but obviously Donald Trump didn't endorse. And I also have countered this point over here, because obviously Jack Ciattarelli was endorsed by Trump himself, and he lost the race by 13 points, and it's a 10-point shift against the Republicans. Another thing is that, we have also talked about Vivek, who gave a different reason, but his main reason was the fact that national Republicans need to focus on the table issues and follow the Democrats' current book. But this is still too early to say, and this could very easily just be a year where the Democrats really quite showed up to the polls. But it's still quite hard to say why did the Democrats overperform. People could say it's because of the government shutdown, but it's still too early to say. But this could be a sign where the Republicans need to find a different strategy of how they are going to convey their message. But yeah, that's going to be my election night analysis. And yeah, if you like this video, subscribe. Okay, bye.